Thank you so much. And hello and welcome, everybody. It is my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce to you tonight someone who actually needs no introduction. Congressman Charles B. Rangel is a war hero, a history maker. He is a master lawmaker and a master strategist and attorney. A founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus, he made history as the first ever African-American member of Congress to lead the powerful House Ways and Means Committee. Now serving in his 22nd term in the House of Representatives, he has been cited as the most effective lawmaker in the House, leading all of his colleagues in passing legislation. In fact, the list of legislation that he has been involved in is so long that you can't even put it on a page. It's several pages long. And then the things that he's contributed to, I mean, it just boggles the mind. Anything related to tax policy or trade is what we're talking about. But just if you didn't know, he is from Harlem, New York. And he transformed himself from a high school dropout into a war hero after volunteering for service in the Korean War. He was wounded. He was awarded a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star for valor. He eventually went on to get to earn his degrees from NYU and St. John's University Law School through the GI Bill. And he began his public service as an assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. So that is all the bio. But I have to tell you that Mr. Rangel, I have a personal connection to. In 1999, he hired me for my first real job on Capitol Hill. And he did it, actually, one was a background way. I didn't know it at the time, but I found out later that he was pressuring his Ways and Means Committee staff to add more diversity to the professional staff on the committee. And so I got a call. I had an interaction with someone on the Ways and Means Committee. I got a call from her. She said, "Hey, you want a job on the House Ways and Means Committee?" I said, "Okay." And later on, I found out it was because of that pressure, but it transformed my career. In fact, I think it is one of the reasons why I'm here before you today. Mr. Rangel, and I always say this now, and I didn't appreciate it at the time, Mr. Rangel. I didn't appreciate it. Especially when you wanted to go on the 50th anniversary of the Korean War trip with your war buddies and you told me to go find a presidential plane to take you. And I had to go find a presidential plane to take him. And they went. But within a span of 2 years, he gave me an opportunity of a lifetime that actually propelled my career forward by 20 years. And so I just want to say this is Mr. Rangel's last term in office. He has had a long and award-winning and stellar career. And I just want to say thank you, Mr. Rangel. You are deserving. And by the way, he's done a lot on asset building. If we're talking about the low-income housing tax credit, the empowerment zones, the school construction and modernization bill, you name it. I mean, anything that we think of, earned income tax credit, anything that we can think of that builds wealth for communities of color, he has had a hand in leading. So with that, I welcome Congressman Charles B. Rangel to the stage. Thank you.
Wow, what an investment, huh? I want to thank Henry Ramos from Insight, and of course Dr. Rocky Moore from the Center for Global Policies. When I first got the invitation and saw that I was being awarded for my contribution to make life a little more pleasant for Americans, if you see it was done through the tax code, many of these successes was because Dr. Rockamore was on the tax committee and later became my chief of staff. And I looked at all of the things I've done, and it sounded so biblical in terms of the pride that I've had in following a philosophy is that what can you do to help the lesser among your brothers and sisters? But as I read the invitation more closely, I got the impression that this meeting was to see how we could close the economic gap, the wealth gap, especially as it related to minorities. So I said, this is a hell of a time for me to find out how the hell to do that at 86 years old. I mean, I was an assistant U.S. attorney. I was a state legislature. I've been in Congress for 46 years. I knew about the racial gap, the income gap and the wealth gap. I've been married over 50 years. I'm constantly reminded all the opportunities my wife had to improve the quality of her life in terms of her marriage to me. So I thought, Maya, that I would be coming here to talk with people who not only recognized it as I did, but was going to show me how I could some kind of way get over the fact that everyone said, you know, you could have been somebody, Charlie, but you never were prepared to make the investment. And then I heard this lovely lady that somehow got $150,000 from you. I can see why she got it. Because she was explaining how we got to need a whole lot of $150,000 if we got to beat a system that a handful of people came to this continent and took hundreds of thousands of human beings from Africa and came up with the idea that we don't have much going for us in this new place that we've taken away from some brown people here. And we're not thinking about doing the work that's necessary to create the wealth that's necessary to do it, and they ain't doing it. But if we can find some kind of way to break down these black-looking different human beings and take away their dignity, take away their self-esteem, break down their spirit, take away their names, take away their songs, take away their religions, and dare someone to try to teach them an Anglo-Saxon culture. If we can break that person down so badly that they would believe not only that they're inferior, but we can have them as our missionaries to go to tell other people of color that they should succumb to these people they met. And how do you overcome that when on top of that we have white people who communicated directly with God and went over there and told them, and this is what he looks like. And all my life, I looked at him. He's an old white man, needs a haircut, flowing beards, and got little white babies flying around. Ain't no way in the world for me to make that sense that I'm somebody. But that only deals with the mind. That only deals with the mind. When it reaches the point that you say, and you'll never be able to own anything, not your name, not your property, not your self-esteem, but you won't be able to own property. And I find that you can even get people like Trump who don't know anything, but if you inherit, you're somebody. But if you don't have anything to start with, with all due respect to Prudential, they just want to know, do you have a reputation for doing anything in the economic world that we can help you? But if you start off with nothing but a dream, it's difficult to need help. So that's the bad side of the story, because somehow I managed to get more than my share of self-esteem, but I just just never got a chance to do a damn thing with the wealth gap. But there is hope. And I'm going to share this with you and get off this stage because I'm the last speaker. There is great hope. You know that whether they thought about us or not when they were drafting the Constitution, they're stuck with us. We busted the ground for poor white folks, for women, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, and this document that racists put together has been flexible enough. They say, well, we got to change our way of thinking, and we move forward. So it so happened that the party of Lincoln, somehow we felt some allegiance to, because he said we were not nearly as bad as animals as the rest of them thought we were. Then along comes this rich white guy, as I read the book, named Roosevelt. He says, we need these people to get elected, so let's try to talk in terms of some jobs and economy. And can you imagine these people who look like slaves said they're leaving the party of Lincoln and join this rich white man's party. And this party had, the leaders were from the racist slave-holding states. And that's a hell of a damn mix I had to live with, you know. And so they tried to get along until people like John Lewis and Martin Luther King got the Voting Rights Act. And the Dixiecrats looked at this and say, this ain't no place for us to be. And Nixon says, you're right. So the problem of the party of Lincoln and the rich whites inherited the Dixiecrats and the Ku Klux Klan. And they join hands together, and they become the Republican Party. And together, somehow, anything that didn't look Anglo-Saxon, they appeal to. So if you're Latin, if you come from a foreign country, anything that just didn't sound like white folks wanted it, that party was able to consume it. And they never thought they would get a person like Donald Trump. Donald Trump, historically, is going to be my city's contribution to the democratic country. But really, something that can close the wealth gap. Listen to me. When Donald Trump gets finished with the Republican Party, because I'm going to Ohio. If they try to steal this nomination from Donald Trump, I'm going to be there and say, he's all we got. Don't do it. Because Donald is going to say, this is a country that is designed to make money. And he said that I could have been a poor white boy except I had some money. And so I don't care who I hurt or who I don't hurt. If it's not there for an economic income, if there's no fiduciary relationship, if I can't make some money, and I'll do anything to make money, then this is unfair and the country doesn't work. And when they find out that all these pieces don't fit, slaveholders, Abe Lincoln, this doesn't make any sense at all, there won't be a Republican Party. But that's bad. Because you have to remember, my party used to have the Dixiecrats, and so don't get too wrapped up with the Democrats unless you got something to work with. Right, Elijah? So here we are. I mean, listen, this is closing the wealth gap. I'm telling you. Here we are, the Democratic Party on one side, the Republican Party falling all together, jobless, hopeless, no racial superiority, nothing going for them. They can't put the pieces together. But there's someone that says it's important to this country from an economic point of view and from a national security point of view that we have a Republican Party. Let's get together and go to one of these think tanks, and I'll recommend your global group, and find out on paper what would it take historically for us to have a competing party. The first thing you have to do is to find out, who do you want to lead? Now, we ain't had nothing to do with changing the complexion of this country. So white folks, we had nothing to do with that. The country built. It got brown and black, and no matter what you try to do with bleach and whatnot, the final number is that you will not be a viable national party unless you take in consideration immigrants and the browning down of the economy. So I don't care if a Republican slaveholder's in charge. He's going to have to get along and to provide something that somebody can leave the Democratic Party and join with them. Now, it's not that I'm looking for work. But I do know that after this year, I'll have a lot of free time. It wouldn't surprise me if some of these Rockefeller Republicans says, Charlie, what can we do? And I would say, all I can tell you is that if you're concerned that this country be a country of equal people, where color is not going to be a question of whether you succeed or not. If you take a look at the history of the country, and don't apologize for slavery, but ask, what has the nation suffered as a result of this? What is it in terms of the economic gap that we have racially, where black folks couldn't own properly, couldn't get an education, couldn't effectively compete? What could you do to say as a party that you want to compete against Democrats? And I think the answer is so clear. Ignore race. Find out where the poverty is. Find out where the disenfranchised are. Find out what part of the population is not producing effectively economically. Find out who we need to impress internationally and reflect in the gorgeous mosaic of the colors and the cultures that we have in the United States of America. Don't display how many people that you've locked up in jail, but talk about the people that you have made to be able to effectively, mentally, and financially, and intellectually compete. And how do you do that? Do you give reparations? Do you say the quality of your color is the more money you get? Are we supposed to say whose slave master was kind? No, you don't do that. You just find out who got a bad deal in this country. Is the Native American still here that spoke so well? You don't talk about apologizing for taking this country away from Native Americans. That's done. If you have any problems, go to church, the synagogue, and take care of your moral guilt. But damn it to hell, make them a productive person. Find out where they are. Say how proud we were to allow you to help to forgive us for what we've done. Forgive you the education, the assets, and the ability to compete. And it's not the nation's fault, the Republican fault, that poverty is there with the poor and the brown. Wherever it is, make up for it with education and support and the ability to compete. I tell you, people brighter than me can make and develop a program for the new Republican Party that will be based on democratic principles of how to make Americans more productive. And I tell you that, if that had happened before I got married, I would have been more effective in closing up this damn wealth gap. But thank you, because I know the center would be there, and whoever was talking about reparations, you can do it not based on the suffering that you've had, but how important it is to make this country as great as she can be by investing in her people no matter what they look like. And so I'm available to be a consultant. You know, I mean, I'm ready to teach. Thank you so much for this award, and you're not going to hear from anybody else after me. Have a great evening. Thank you. Where's my award?